When must you signal before making a turn? At least 100 feet before the intersection. How close may you park to a stop sign? 50 feet. How close may you park to a corner? 25 feet. How close may you park to a fire hydrant? 10 feet. What is the stopping distance on a dry road at 50 mph? 243 feet. What is the proper distance you may park from the curb? 6 inches or less. What are the penalties for driving without insurance? Suspension of driver's license and registration and fines. Serious accidents causing death, injury or $200 damage must be reported within 5 days to a Division of Motor Vehicles office. Points are only issued for moving violations. When will you be given a proposed license suspension notice? After receiving 12 points. What is the penalty for driving with a suspended license first offense? What is the penalty for driving with a suspended license first offense? Fine of $500 and up to 6 months additional license suspension. What is the penalty for not telling the truth when applying for a license? No less than a $200 fine and up to 6 months imprisonment. Up to 3 points may be subtracted from your record if you receive no moving violations for how long? 1 year. What is the penalty for refusing the breath test? 6 months suspension. Who is responsible if a student commits a traffic offense? Both the student and the accompanying instructor or licensed driver. What should you do if approaching a steady yellow or amber signal? Slow down and stop before entering the intersection only if possible. What is a good practice while driving? Keep from looking at one thing for more than a few seconds. What is the proper lane to turn into when making a left turn? The lane nearest the center in the direction you are heading. When driving at night, you should be able to stop within the distance you can see ahead. Where should you position your car to make a left turn from a two-way street? The lane nearest the center of the road. What is a good practice when nearing an intersection? Slow down and be prepared to stop. What is the purpose of traffic laws? To protect you and other drivers. If there's a no turn on red sign, when can you make a turn on red? Never. If you feel or hear unusual thumping noise while driving, it may be the tires. What is the best advice if your car is stranded in a heavy snowstorm? Stay with your car. What is a good practice when driving in the city? check intersections ahead for signals. What must you do if you want to turn left at a traffic light? Yield to oncoming traffic. If the front of your car vibrates, the problem may be with your steering. What do two parallel white lines across the road mean? Pedestrian crosswalk. Which lights should you be using when driving in fog? Low beams or fog lights? What papers must you have when operating a motor vehicle? License, registration, and insurance card. When should you use your horn? When coming out of a dark alley. What should be done if two cars enter an uncontrolled intersection simultaneously? The driver to the left must yield to the driver on the right. Yellow center lines would usually be found where? On a two-way road. Why should you use seat belts and shoulder belts? They increase your chance of surviving an accident. When may you pass on the right? If the car in front is turning left and there is a lane for driving on the right. What does a flashing red light mean? Stop. Proceed with caution. What does a green light mean? Proceed when safe. What does a single solid white line across an intersection mean? You should stop behind the line for a traffic sign or signal. What does a yellow diamond-shaped sign mean? Warning or caution. When should you use your parking lights? Only when parking. Which way should you turn if you are going into a skid? Which way should you turn if you are going into a skid? In the direction the back of your car is skidding. How far should you stay behind the car that you are following? At least 2 seconds. What direction should you check first when approaching an intersection? The left. If two cars reach a four-way stop at the same time, what is proper procedure? The driver on the left yields to the driver on the right. What should you do if you go into a skid? Take your foot off the gas. What is the most common mistake a new driver makes with the brakes? Pushing the brake too hard. What is the best way to talk to other drivers? Through the use of your horn and lights. What does a red 8-sided sign mean? Stop. What does a red and white triangular sign mean? Yield. If you drive through a deep puddle, what should you do? Test your brakes. When is the road surface most slippery? During the first few minutes of rain. When should you use your high beams? Open country driving situations. If the lights of oncoming cars are in your eyes, what should you do? Look to the lower right side of your traffic lane. A driver's left hand extended upward means what? He's making a right turn. A driver's left hand extended straight out means what? He's making a left turn. A driver's left hand extended downward means what? A driver's left hand extended downward means what? He's making a stop or slowing down. The safest way to exit an expressway is to slow your car to the posted speed limit. What should you do if your brakes fail? Shift to a lower gear and pump your brakes. What should you do if your electric signal fails to operate? Use hand signal. What should you do if you have a blowout? Slow down gradually. One method of using the 2-second rule is by using a fixed object on the side of the road. What should you do if you miss an exit on an expressway? Go to the next exit, don't back up. When you are driving on a curb, your vehicle will go in what direction? Straight. What is good practice at an intersection that has no signs or signal? Be ready to stop if necessary. It is good practice to keep a space cushion in order to give you time to react. One of the best defenses against drunk drivers is proper wearing of seatbelt. When a school bus has stopped at a school to pick up or let off children, you may pass in either direction at a speed no more than 10 miles per hour. How should you turn your wheels when parking downhill next to a curb? To the right towards the curb. Special permits may be issued for a 16-year-old when the 16-year-old is enrolled in a behind-the-wheel driver education course or enrolled in a commercial driving education course and when the permit is purchased by a state-approved driving instructor. In city driving, a good habit is to look ahead 12 seconds. When approaching a railroad crossing with flashing lights, stop no closer than 15 feet of the nearest rail. When on a one-way street when passing or if it is impractical to travel on that side of the roadway, you are required by New Jersey law to keep to the right except when on a one-way street when passing or if it is impractical to travel on that side of the roadway. Studies show that the greatest number of people arrested for drunk driving had been drinking what kind of alcoholic beverage? Beer. The speed limit in a school zone is 25 miles per hour. The speed limit in a business area is 25 miles per hour. The speed limit on a highway is 50 miles per hour. You should always yield to other vehicles already in the intersection, pedestrians and emergency vehicles. If you want to return to the road from a dirt shoulder, slow down, then turn your wheels to climb the pavement edge. An agricultural license allows the operation of a farm-registered vehicle for agricultural use only. To make a right turn, you should get in the right lane. A 12 ounces can of beer has as much alcohol in it as 1 1/2 ounce of 86 proof whiskey or 1 5 ounces glass of wine. How fast you drank, your weight, how much you drank. Whether your blood alcohol content raises above legal limits depends on whether your blood alcohol content raises above how fast you drank, your weight, how much you drank. The best way to reduce your chances of having an alcohol-related accident is don't drink and drive. If you are arrested for drunk driving in New Jersey, your chances of being convicted are 96%. Drugs that may affect basic driving skills are cold medicines, tranquilizers, and some prescription drugs. Driving while under the influence of intoxicated beverages means the driver shows obvious signs of being drunk. When blood alcohol content reaches 0.15%, your chances of getting into a serious fatal accident will increase 25 times. What is habitual offender? Any person whose license has been suspended 3 times within 3 years. The first conviction penalty for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs is the first conviction penalty for driving $250 minus $400 fine and possible imprisonment for 30 days and loss of license for 6 months, 1 year. In NJ, you must always keep to which side of the road? Right. With a blood alcohol concentration of 0.05-0.08%. You may or may not be under the influence. With a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08% or more. You are definitely under the influence. New Jersey licensed drivers have an eyesight recheck every 10 years. What is a good rule of thumb in adjusting to traffic? Try to adjust your speed through the flow of traffic. What is a good rule of thumb for following distances on dry roads? 1 car length for every 10 miles per hour speed or 2 to 3 second space between cars. What does the word tailgating mean? Driving too close to the vehicle in front. This does not allow enough time to react if the vehicle ahead stops suddenly or slows. What does hydroplaning mean? Losing the tire grip on wet roads and riding on a film of water. What is an uncontrolled intersection? An intersection where there's no traffic signals or signs. When should you dim your headlights? In city driving and when following or meeting another vehicle within 500 feet. What is an acceleration lane? An extra lane provided at the entrance to an expressway to provide a vehicle distance in which to build up speed. You must stop at least feet from a school bus with its red lights on. 25. What is the name of the distance that the car travels while the brakes are being applied? Braking distance. Dates for studded tires on New Jersey roadways are November 15th to April 1st. Information signs are what color? Blue or green. What should you do if a traffic light is not working? Slow down, yield to traffic and proceed when safe. Depth perception means the same as distance judgment. Persons under the age of 21 are considered under the influence when their blood alcohol content is 0.01, 0.05, or 0.08%. Any amount of alcohol is over the limit. You can practice driving with a valid special learner's permit between 5:01 a.m. and 11 p.m. You must be at least years old to register a motor vehicle. 17. As you drive, you are required to stop your vehicle at an intersection with a stop sign at a red light and when an officer orders you to do so. NJ issues a year basic license. 4. It is important to slow down on narrow roads, at intersections or railroad crossings, and when the road is wet or slippery. Vehicle stopping distances never depend on time of day. The best way to take a curve is to slow down before entering the curve. If a student fails the driving test for the 5th time, how long must he/she wait before taking it again? At least 14 days. You may drive on public or private property to avoid a traffic sign or signal only if directed to do so by a police officer. When it is legal to make a right turn on red, you must make a full stop and check traffic. What is a good form of ID to bring to the permit test? Original birth certificate. You can get alcohol out of your blood by time. The more you wait, the less the influence. The position of the hands on the steering wheel are at 9 and 3 o'clock. The definition of a blind spot is area which cannot be seen in the outside mirror. The inspection sticker on a new vehicle is good for 24 months. At what age can a high school student with a valid learner's permit take commercial driving lessons? 16 years. What is the penalty for not having your insurance card with you? Fine up to $100. A single, solid white line across a road at an intersection means stop within 5 feet of the line for a sign or traffic light. If you have an out-of-state license and move to NJ, you must apply for a NJ license within 60 days or before your current license expires, whichever comes first. Some signs of alcohol impairment are usually swerving, going too fast or slow. What is the penalty for driving a vehicle with an expired inspection sticker? Fine, arrest, and registration revocation. On a 3-lane road, the center lane is used for left turns. In selecting an area to do a 3-point turn, you should check volume of traffic, width of the road, and if the car is at or near an intersection. If you are involved in a personal injury accident that requires you to report it to the Division of Motor Vehicles, you must report the accident to your insurance company at once. An articulated license allows you to operate with vehicles of 18,000 pounds or more joined by a coupling device. How long do you have to report a change in address on a NJ license? 1 week. What would indicate that a tire has been habitually overinflated? Wear on the center of the tire. Headlights, not parking lights alone, must be used 1/2 hour before sunset to 1/2 hour after sunrise in poor weather conditions and when visibility is 500 feet or less. Headlights, not parking lights alone, must be used 1/2 hour before sunset to 1/2 hour after sunrise in poor weather conditions and when visibility is 500 feet or less. A checkpoint for parallel parking is rear bumper opposite rear bumper of car parked in front of desired space. If your car breaks down on an expressway, the first thing you should do is try to pull off the road safely. To drive a tractor-trailer in NJ, what type of license must you obtain? Articulated Vehicle License, or CDL. If you run off the pavement, the first thing you should do is slow down and turn back onto the pavement slowly. The implied consent law means driver agrees to take a breath test. Most fatal accidents are due to inattentiveness. If a person becomes drunk in your home and has a motor vehicle accident after leaving your home, you could be involved in a lawsuit. The term 1 car length for each 10 miles per hour is used to describe following distance. If a driver receives a proposed license suspension, he/she must attend a NJ Driver Improvement Program, ask for a hearing with the Division of Motor Vehicles, or turn in his/her license for the suspension period. When you buy a used car which has an expired inspection sticker, the car must be inspected within 2 weeks. What indicates underinflated tires? Excessive wear on the edges of the tires. How long do you have to report a name change to the DMV? 2 weeks. If a collision is impossible to avoid, you can lessen the impact by steering away from objects that do not give way. Hand signals are the same for all states. A restriction on a special learner's permit for a 16-year-old is a restriction on a special learner's permit for he must have a behind-the-wheel driver education course. He must have a behind-the-wheel driver education course. Failure to give consent to be tested for alcohol consumption is punishable by failure to give consent to be tested. 6 months suspension of driving privileges. In adverse weather conditions, the stopping distance of a truck increases by 25%. When making a left turn into a road with more than one lane going in the same direction, you must start to turn the wheel a little before reaching the middle of the road and turn into the nearest lane to the center. When purchasing a used vehicle, you may get the car inspected within 14 days or wait until the inspection from the previous owner expires if applicable. If a traffic light is hanging horizontally, which side is the red on? The left. A provisional license is good for 1 year. A basic license is good for 4 years. The BAC level for over 21 is 0.08 under 21.01. To avoid a $25 charge when purchasing a used car, transfer title within 10 business days of sale. For all moving violations committed on a NG license while driving in any state under the Interstate Compacts laws, you will receive, for all moving violations, 2 points on your NG license. To avoid highway hypnosis, avoid looking at any one thing for more than a few seconds at a time. Anyone over 21 must wait to take their road test. 3 months. Where do you go in the event of an emergency vehicle? Move to the extreme right. You know you are in the blind spot of a truck in front of you if you can't see him in his mirror. One of the main things to look out for when dealing with a truck is their blind spot. Where should a car seat be placed? In the back seat in the middle, not the front. What isn't allowed to get a GDL permit? Handheld devices. The standard accident prevention formula is: be alert, be prepared, act in time. The standard fine for a GDL infraction is $100. A learner's or student permit refers to a permit for a 16-year-old. Since emotions play such a large role in driving, when you are angry, upset, or overly excited, it is always better to put off driving until you have had time to cool down. If a person with a BAC level of 0.05% doubles their chances of getting into an accident than a person with a BAC level of 0.10%. If a person with a BAC level has a Has a 6 times greater chance of getting into an accident. Has a 6 times greater chance of getting into an accident. You must be careful to stop for bicyclists and pedestrians, as directed by law when they are in a crosswalk. If a driver is 21 or older, are they subject to the GDL time restrictions? No. Is driving a privilege or a right? Driving is a privilege.